Hello again, everybody. Nice to see you all, or be seen. We are now at the end of April 2026, and we do have some news about the Visa Bulletin and how your cases may be prosecuted, for lack of a better word, going forward. So for the May Visa Bulletin, the good news that the EB2, employment-based second preference, is still current. So for those of you who are saying, what's a Visa Bulletin? Let me explain briefly, but this is sort of an intermediate level. The Visa Bulletin comes out every month. It is authored more or less by the State Department because there are fewer green cards available each year than there are people who want them. So depending upon the category that you're in, you may have a long wait or you may have no wait. Some people don't need to worry about the Visa Bulletin, and those people are people who are married to a U.S. citizen, people who are the minor children of a U.S. citizen, or parents of adult U.S. citizens, adult sons or daughters. When those individuals file for their green card, they can automatically sort of skip the line. Of course, you still have all the processing time that is necessary to grant the green card, but there is no waiting period that is part of the law. However, pretty much everybody else has some kind of a delay in processing because, as I said, not as many visas, immigrant visas, available each month as there are people who want them. State Department is charged with the obligation of making sure the embassies and USCIS, for that matter, run fairly smoothly. So they try to apportion the immigrant visas available throughout the year on a month-by-month basis. So they move the what we call priority dates back and forth to either stimulate demand or to push demand back a bit because they've got enough cases to be processing at any given moment. Well, let's take a look. The bulletin is out, as I said. I think we're at the end of April 2026. Not a lot of changes in the in family. Second preference, which is spouses or minor unmarried children of permanent residents, is current, meaning if you are in that category, you can file for your green card right now. It's not always current, so that's important, especially for people who are in the United States in lawful status. They may be able to file for their green card right now without having to wait. And of course, for people who have to wait, sometimes there is an issue about falling out of status while you're waiting for the availability of your green card. EB2 is a higher preference category than EB3. EB just means employment-based. So EB1 is extraordinary ability aliens, a little tricky. It's also multinational executives. It is a more difficult category to qualify for, and therefore, there are fewer applicants, and therefore it typically is current, meaning it's available each month. There are enough immigrant visas to go around. The next level down is EB2. There are, again, various ways that you qualify for that, but I think the one that everyone knows about and most people are interested in is the national interest waiver cases. Generally speaking, you need to have a master's degree or the equivalent. There is the national interest waiver, means the necessity for a job offer is waived, meaning you don't need an interested U.S. employer to file for a green card in this category. So that sounds like a pretty good deal. The problem there is that you must prove that what you are coming to the United States to do is one way or the other in the national interest. You don't need to prove you're coming to cure cancer, but you need to prove that on some level, in some way, what you are coming here to do and that you are well positioned to do is in the national interest. We also can tell you that adjustment of status is the thing to think about when you're looking at the Visa Bulletin, because you may or may not be able to file for your green card in the United States based on what you're doing here right now. You have to be in legal status, and it is not a given that because you entered legally and because your I-94 is still valid on its face, it's not a given that you will be amenable, that adjustment of status will be available to you, because along with maintaining status on paper, that your I-94 is still valid or unexpired. For example, you can't be working in most cases if your visa doesn't allow you to work. So if you come as a tourist, but you start working a week later, you have just violated your status. And you say, well, I'm smarter than that. Well, yeah, but think about it. If you have school-aged children, the first question that USCIS will come up with is, well, wait a minute, weren't your kids in school? They have to be in school. They're of school age. Well, yeah, that violates their status. So they may not be amenable to adjustment of status. In other words, they may not be eligible. So that is something that is absolutely crucial. You need to talk to your immigration lawyer about that. So it may be safe to say that the bottom line, for the purpose of this discussion anyhow, is to monitor the Visa Bulletin. Those of you who are following us may remember that last month, EB3, that's employment-based third preference, that is where there is a job offer from a U.S. employer. EB3 last month was current, well, for the month that we're in right now, April 2026. That is not the case for next month, May of 2026. So that's a big difference. If you could get your green card application filed by the end of April of 2026, you can file it. If you can't get it together next month, May, you can't file it. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in June, but my point is, talk to your immigration lawyer. Monitor the Visa Bulletin, but we understand it's tricky, and in fact, there are 2 charts every month. Actually, there are 4 charts. There are 2 each, employment-based and family-based. So call your lawyer. Make sure you understand what your priority date is, that's your place in line, and see what's going on with that given month. We get the Visa Bulletin a few weeks ahead of time, so we do have a little bit of advance notice. But check in, call your lawyer. You may be able to file right now, and it may be a deadline that you really need to meet. Okay, thanks. We'll talk soon about a little bit more immigration law. Be well.